The scientific consensus says that we should be eating predominantly plant-based diets, and that vegan and even vegan diets are helpful for all stages of life cycle. I've shown that you can get enough protein. I've shown that the quality DS scoring doesn't matter. I've shown that the B12 stuff that you got is completely wrong. Like, what else do you want me to show you?
Yeah. Chris, this has not been that good for your arguments.
So James Wilks, who co-produced the documentary The Game Changers, was recently on the Joe Rogan podcast, along with Kresser. You may know that a couple weeks ago, Chris went on solo to debunk the film, and this was James's chance to respond. So how did he do? Now, I will come out and prove my objectivism here and criticize James for his critique of Chris in regards to him claiming 84% of cases in a specific study found no or contrary evidence that dairy causes cancer. He claimed that it was misleading and he should have or could have phrased it differently. Chris claimed that the burden of proof is on James as he's making the claim about dairy and cancer, and I agree for the specific case. Not really sure what James was getting at here. What Chris said was not wrong according to the data in question. They did, however, go on to discuss specifically prostate cancer data from the same study, in which there was a 50% increased risk shown in relation to dairy consumption. This segment was really early on in the podcast, and after that I feel that James did a very good job defending the honor of his film. They discussed the digestible indispensable amino acid score, or DS, which Chris previously appealed to as evidence that vegan athletes can't get sufficient protein. James debunked this claim by explaining how the DS was created with kwashiorkor in mind. Now, kwashiorkor is a form of severe protein malnutrition. It is distinguished from a similar condition known as marasmus in that it is solely a protein deficiency but not a total calorie deficiency. This is seen in developing countries. Certainly no one who is watching The Game Changers on Netflix will be suffering with kwashiorkor. James presented the evidence showing that the DS does not translate to optimizing downstream physiological targets. So in other words, using the DS to recommend things to eat for muscle building is misleading and dishonest. What DS says is, hey, you have people who are eating a very minimal amount of protein in a day, say 30 grams at most. How should we get them there in terms of essential amino acid profile and digestibility? Let's not forget, though, that we can feed more people using plants and animal foods from a sustainability standpoint. Now, more on protein, they had about a 10-minute discussion on peanut butter sandwiches. James proved Chris was being dishonest again using USDA data, and he showed that a peanut butter sandwich on whole wheat bread has the same amount of protein per calorie as an omelet recipe on Chris's website, which is hilarious. Clashed on B12 as well. James showed how Chris was full of it by claiming farm animals aren't given B12. Then Chris pivoted to shellfish and said, well, people can just eat those, just please don't go vegan and take a supplement. James also revealed how Chris was being disingenuous, citing a study showing how 92% of vegans are deficient in B12, yet none of them supplemented. James never claimed that vegans shouldn't supplement, and he said the exact opposite, actually suggesting that everyone take a supplement. So you're skipping the baggage of B12 foods like heme iron, hormones, fat, and cholesterol. There was another moment where they talked about what a low-carb diet is and how Chris's definitions are not in accordance with expert consensus. There's really so much here. They went over a lot of topics. If you don't have nearly 4 hours to dedicate to watching this, check out the JRE Clips channel to have some more digestible segments uploaded, pun intended. Chris really seemed to cower toward the end of the podcast. It seemed as though his body language was admitting defeat. I commented on the Happy Healthy Vegan video going over this specific podcast, my thoughts about it, and got some replies, as you could see, from some like-minded individuals. And even Joe has changed his tune, as he posted this on his Instagram recently, saying that he's considering taking down the original podcast. So, overall, I think we have to be pleased. James really prepared absolutely flawlessly. Chris was not ready for the ambush, which is great because as vegans, we are constantly bombarded with misinformation and lies and people telling us that we should all be dead, but we're not dead. We're here. We're fighting for the animals, and we're fighting for the truth. That's what it's all about.
Vegans and vegetarians in general are they smoke less, they have a higher drink less, they have a higher diet quality in general.
Right, because they do all
comparing apples to apples.
Right, because they do all of the things that are better for health, including eating a plant-based diet.
Because
so he thinks that just the only one thing that they don't do better is eat more plants.